Hello out there. This is White Ash Flies with Colin Mahoney. Thank you so much for tuning in on this frosty and foggy Friday morning here in the Willamette Valley. I'm so glad you're here for this Good Friday edition of Zander's Sunday Sauce, featuring a poem by John Donne, Good Friday, 1613, Riding Westward. John Donne was born in 1572 into one of the most famous Catholic families in England. His grandmother was the niece of Sir Thomas More, the Lord High Chancellor of England under Henry VIII, and author of Utopia, who was beheaded on Tower Hill in London for denying Henry's supremacy over the Church of England. As John Carey writes in John Donne, Life, Mind, and Art, the disadvantages of being Catholic in Elizabethan England are difficult to generalize about. On the one hand, as the careers of Donne's father and stepfather suggest, it was possible, if you were sufficiently circumspect or well-connected, to prosper. On the other hand, you might end up having your intestines torn out. John Donne was both circumspect and well-connected. He studied law at Lincoln's Inn, joined Sir Walter Raleigh and Lord Essex in their hunt for Spanish treasure ships off Cadiz and again in the Azores, and served as private secretary to Sir Thomas Egerton, keeper of the Great Seal, before he was dismissed in the wake of Donne's secret marriage in 1601. He was finally ordained an Anglican minister in 1615. As was the case with so many politicians and courtiers in those days, Queen Elizabeth and Raleigh among them, Donne pursued poetry as an amateur in the old sense of the word. He wrote for a small circle of friends and had no interest in broader circulation. His ambitions lay elsewhere. Much of his poetry was occasional, like his Letter to Mr. Tillman after he had taken orders, or his Elegy upon the Untimely Death of the Incomparable Prince Henry. Today's poem is deeply occasional, written en route from Polesworth to Montgomery on Good Friday, April 3rd, 1613. Donne's poetry is complex. Although his diction, his word choice, is accessible enough, his syntax is jagged, and his images and ideas turn on quick pivots. In this poem, he pivots from the universal to the deeply intimate, from the heavenly spheres and endless heights to his own personal confrontation with Christ suffering on the cross. You can find a whole truckload of White Ash Flies episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, Acast, and on YouTube. And now, Good Friday, 1613, Riding Westward, on White Ash Flies. Let man's soul be a sphere, and then, in this, the intelligence that moves, devotion is. And as the other spheres, by being grown subject to foreign motions, lose their own, and being by others hurried every day, scarce in a year their natural form obey. Pleasure or business, so our souls admit for their first mover, and are whirled by it. Hence is it that I am carried towards the west this day, when my soul's form bends toward the east. There I should see a sun, by rising, set, and by that setting endless day beget. But that Christ on this cross did rise and fall, sin had eternally benighted all. Yet dare I almost be glad, I do not see that spectacle of too much weight for me. Who sees God's face, that is, self-life, must die, What a death were it then to see God die! It made his own lieutenant, nature, shrink. It made his footstool crack, and the sun wink. Could I behold those hands which span the poles, and turn all spheres at once, pierced with those holes? Could I behold that endless height, which is zenith to us, and to our antipodes, humbled below us? Or that blood, which is the seat of all our souls, if not of his, made dirt of dust? Or that flesh which was worn by God for his apparel, ragged and torn? If on these things I durst not look, durst I upon his miserable mother cast mine eye, who was God's partner here, and furnished thus half of that sacrifice which ransomed us? Though these things, as I ride, be from mine eye, they are present yet unto my memory, for that looks towards them. And thou lookest towards me, O Saviour, as thou hangest upon the tree. I turn my back to thee, but to receive corrections, till thy mercies bid thee leave. Oh, think me worth thine anger, punish me, burn off my rust and my deformity. Restore thine image so much by thy grace, that thou mayest know me, and I'll turn my face.